They said grief changes people. But no one imagined that Daniel Crowe, a soft-spoken librarian and devoted husband, would become the center of a manhunt. His wife's death shattered him, but it was what he did after that tore a quiet town apart. In the quiet Appalachian town of Winthrop Falls, nestled between misty hills and winding creeks, Daniel Crowe was known simply as the man with the gentle smile. A local librarian and an amateur violinist, Daniel lived a peaceful life with his wife, Evelyn. Their love was the kind of enduring devotion that people whispered about wistfully, the kind that made you believe in forever. That is, until Evelyn died. It was a freak accident. On a stormy October evening, Evelyn lost control of her car while driving home from choir practice. Her vehicle skidded off a rain-slick road, crashing into an embankment. By the time first responders arrived, it was too late. Evelyn had been crushed beneath the dashboard. Daniel was never the same. At first, people chalked it up to grief. He stopped coming to work. His violin gathered dust. The garden Evelyn had so lovingly cultivated became overgrown and wild. Neighbors tried to reach out, bringing casseroles, prayers, and soft-spoken condolences. But Daniel remained behind his doors, alone with ghosts. Over the months that followed, rumors began to circulate. Some said Daniel had started drinking. Others swore they saw strange people coming and going from his property at odd hours. One neighbor even claimed to have heard yelling, and something that sounded disturbingly like weeping, long past midnight. What no one knew was that Evelyn's death had done more than break Daniel's heart. It had shattered his grasp on reality. It began with a theft. Desperate to hold on to any trace of Evelyn, Daniel broke into the funeral home one night to retrieve the dress she was buried in. When authorities found the casket disturbed the next morning, Daniel was the last person they suspected. No cameras, no evidence, just a desecrated grave and a grieving husband who seemed more broken than ever. But that was only the beginning. Daniel started frequenting the darker corners of the internet, spiraling into conspiracy theories about death, spiritual resurrection, and ritual practices that promised reunion with lost loved ones. Somewhere along the line, he met others who preyed on his vulnerability. Men who saw in Daniel not a grieving widow, but a tool. They lured him in slowly, promising methods to speak with the dead, if he helped them procure certain items. First, it was rare books, then antique objects. But soon, it escalated to robbing a local historical society, and later, a pawnshop robbery that turned violent. A clerk was injured. Daniel's face was caught on grainy security footage. When the town heard about the robbery, they were stunned. The man in the video was gaunt, unshaven, and hollow-eyed, but unmistakably Daniel. Local news outlets ran the story for days. The sheriff's department issued a warrant. But Daniel had vanished. He went off the grid, living out of his car, surviving on canned food, and moving between abandoned cabins in the nearby hills. The people he'd once helped, students, widows, schoolchildren, were now the ones locking their doors in fear. Then the kidnappings began. 2 young women, both mediums known for their spiritual readings, were reported missing. Their last appointments? Booked under aliases tied to Daniel's email. In a frenzied raid of his abandoned house, authorities found disturbing journals filled with scribbled invocations and references to crossing over and bartering with death. In the basement, they found a wall covered in photographs of Evelyn, some torn, some burned, some circled with red ink. A map was pinned nearby, marked with sites of reported spiritual activity. Daniel wasn't trying to move on. He was trying to bring her back. The manhunt for Daniel lasted 6 weeks. It ended deep in the Red Hollow Forest, where officers tracked a tip from a hunter who'd stumbled on a remote shack. Inside, they found Daniel, pale, ragged, and holding one of the missing women hostage. He refused to surrender, instead insisting that he was on the verge of opening the gate and reuniting with Evelyn. As officers tried to de-escalate the situation, Daniel lunged with a knife. The hostage escaped. Daniel didn't survive the bullet to his chest. In his final moments, he muttered only one thing: "She's waiting." Winthrop Falls buried its shame quietly. The press labeled Daniel Crowe the widower killer. But those who knew him still spoke in hushed tones, wondering how a man once so full of love could descend into such darkness. Was it mental illness? A breakdown of reality? Or something more sinister? Whatever the cause, Daniel's descent was a haunting reminder that grief, left unchecked, can rot even the purest soul, and love, once lost, can drive a man to madness. Sometimes, the most haunting tragedies aren't born from hatred, but from love twisted by loss. Daniel Crowe wasn't a monster at first. He was a man broken beyond repair, reaching for the ghost of a life that no longer existed. In trying to hold on to Evelyn, he lost himself, and in doing so, hurt others who never knew his pain. Grief doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It isolates. It festers. And when no one listens, it can turn even the gentlest soul into a stranger or a headline. Let this story be more than just true crime. Let it be a reminder. Check on the quiet ones. Grieve with the grieving. Because sometimes, love unspoken becomes a tragedy that echoes far beyond the grave. If this story gripped you, like it did us, leave a comment below with your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to support the channel. And remember, sometimes the darkest secrets are the ones we bury ourselves. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next shocking tale.